Most people, they walk around thinking their life is controlled by the economy.
Right. Or by their boss.
By their boss, by their childhood, whatever. They think they're just leaves floating in the wind.
Mm-hmm.
They are wrong.
Yeah.
Your destiny.
Yeah.
It's shaped by your decisions, not your conditions.
And the actual neurobiology we're going to get into today, it shows that the only reason you aren't where you want to be right now, it isn't a lack of capability.
No.
It's that your brain right now is actually wired to link more pain to succeeding than it does to staying stuck.
Today, we wake the giant. Welcome back to Success Talk. This is the Deep Dive Edition. I'm your host, and today... Wow, today we are tackling an absolute monster of a book.
We really are.
We are unpacking the legendary Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
And let me just say, if you have ever felt like you're sleepwalking through your own potential, this is the wake-up call you have been waiting for.
It truly is. And I think it's important to, set the stage here. This isn't just some rah-rah motivational speech. Not at all.
Not at all.
We're looking at a comprehensive system. It's a psychological blueprint, really, for how to reprogram your own nervous system.
Yes.
Robbins argues, and he backs it up with some pretty fascinating case studies, that we have the ability to take total control of our emotional state, our finances, our relationships.
And often in a split second.
Often in a split second. That's the key.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, look, I want to make a promise to everyone listening right now. If you stay with us for this hour, we aren't just going to give you some nice quotes to post on Instagram. We're going to give you the exact blueprint, the step-by-step on how to reprogram your nervous system for, automatic success. We're going to talk about mastering your finances using what he calls economic alchemy. And we're going to show you, literally, how to take control of your emotional state in under a minute. It's
a big promise, but I have to say, the material really supports it. It's dense, it's very actionable, and frankly, it's timeless.
It is. Okay, let's dive right in. The core philosophy here, Section 1, Decisions over Conditions.
The foundation.
This is the foundation of the entire book, the entire system. Robbins kicks it off with this concept of dreams of destiny. He talks about how we all start out with this, this vision of a life where we make a difference.
Where we're special.
Yeah. But then life happens.
The grind.
The grind happens.
Right. And he calls it getting shrouded. It's a great word. Shrouded in the frustrations and routines of daily life.
Yeah.
And you lose that winner's edge because you start believing you have control.
Yeah.
We start to succumb to something psychologists call learned helplessness.
Okay, what is that exactly?
It's when you start believing your actions don't matter. So you stop acting. And he illustrates this with a really powerful personal anecdote that I think it sets the tone for the whole discussion.
Oh, the helicopter story. I love this story. It's iconic for a reason.
It absolutely is. So just picture this. It's 1991. Tony Robbins is flying his jet helicopter from a business meeting in LA over to a seminar in Orange County. And he's flying over the city of Glendale, and he looks down, and he recognizes a building. He actually stops the helicopter and just hovers over it.
And this is the movie moment, isn't it?
It totally is.
Because he realizes that just 12 years before, he was working as a janitor in that exact building.
Exactly. 12 years. I mean, think about that. That is not a lifetime.
No.
That's a decade and change. He talks about how back then he was just this 19-year-old kid. He was broke. He was, 40 pounds overweight?
Lonely.
So lonely. And his biggest concern in the entire world was whether his 1960 Volkswagen Beetle would survive the 30-minute drive to work.
And that detail out the car is it's so relatable and so painful. It had no reverse gear.
That's the one. He had to physically park on a hill every single time just so gravity could back him out of a parking spot.
I mean, can you imagine the humiliation?
It's just, it creates this constant background noise of fear and scarcity, And now, there he is, hovering above that same building in a jet helicopter on his way to a stadium filled with 5,000 people waiting to hear him speak.
The contrast is, it's insane. And he makes this point that the traffic jam on the freeway below, which he was annoyed by at first, was actually caused by people coming to see him.
Which is, what a profound realization that must have been. But the key takeaway here, it isn't just, wow, look how successful he became.
No, it's not the point.
It's about what changed. Was it the economy? No, the economy goes up and down for everyone. Was it his DNA? Of course not. He says his life changed the moment he made a new decision.
One decision.
He decided he would never again settle for less than he could be. That was it.
That one decision brings us to the 3 core decisions.
Yes.
This is crucial because Robbins says destiny isn't some mystical path laid out for you.
No.
It's determined by 3 specific decisions you are making in every single moment of your life, whether you realize it or not.
Yeah. Right. And most of us are making these decisions on complete autopilot. That's the problem. This is, think of it like the dashboard of your experience. So the first decision is what to focus on.
Okay, let's unpack that. What to focus on.
Think about it. Right now, there are a million things happening around you. You can focus on the fact that maybe your back hurts a little, or you can focus on the opportunity in front of you.
You can focus on a mistake you made yesterday or a possibility for tomorrow.
Precisely. And whatever you focus on becomes your reality. If you go to a party, you can focus on the one person who gave you a dirty look.
Or the 10 people who smiled at you.
Or the 10 people who smiled at you. The party itself is the same objective event. Your experience of it is totally different based on your focus.
That's like the camera lens of your mind, right?
Right.
Where you point that lens determines the picture you see. If you focus on what's missing from your life, you will be miserable. You could be a billionaire on a yacht and feel broke if you're focused on the one yacht that's bigger.
Exactly. Which leads directly to the second decision, what things mean.
This is huge.
This is where the whole narrative kicks in. 2 people can have the exact same thing happen to them. Let's say they both get laid off from their jobs.
Okay, job loss.
Yeah.
So the focus is on the empty desk, the final paycheck.
Now, what does it mean? One person decides this means I am a failure and my life is over.
Okay.
The other person decides this means this is the kick in the pants I needed to finally start my own business.
The event is identical. The meaning assigned to it is completely different. And that meaning dictates the emotion.
And the emotion dictates the third and final decision, what to do about it.
Right.
If you decide the job loss means you're a failure, you're going to do what? You're going to sit on the couch, you're going to binge Netflix and, drink beer. If you decide it's an opportunity,
You're updating your resume, you're calling your network, you're building a business plan.
your actions are a direct result of the meaning you chose.
This reminds me of the case study he shares about Soichiro Honda. I mean, this is one of my favorite business stories of all time. Talk about a guy who refused to let his conditions dictate his decisions.
Oh, Honda is the ultimate example of this. Most people know the cars, the brand, but they don't know the man.
No idea.
He didn't just have talent, he had this ferocious, almost stubborn decision to persist. In 1938, he was a student. He wanted to design a piston ring for Toyota.
Okay.
He poured everything he had into it. He slept in the workshop. He actually pawned his wife's jewelry to fund the project.
So the stakes were incredibly high.
Massive stakes. And when he finally presented his prototype to Toyota, they rejected him, flat out. They said it didn't meet their quality standards.
And for 99% of people, that's the end of the story. Okay, I tried. The market said no. I'm done.
Exactly. They would have focused on the rejection. They would have decided it meant I'm not good enough. But Honda, he focused on the feedback. He decided it meant I need to improve the product. So what does he do? He goes back to school.
As an adult with a business.
Yes. He was mocked by his teachers and his peers for being obsessed with these stupid rings. But 2 years later, he finally got the contract.
But the story doesn't even end there. That's not the crazy part.
Not even close. Then World War II hits. He wants to build a factory to supply Toyota, but the government won't give him concrete because of wartime shortages. So the conditions say, stop, you can't build.
And his decision says, find another way.
Precisely. He didn't just give up. He and his team literally invented a new process to make concrete so they could build their own factory.
Insane. Then what happens? The factory gets bombed by U.S. planes.
Twice. I mean, it's almost comical how much bad luck this guy had. And his response, he rallied his team and said, quick, run out and pick up the empty fuel cans the American planes dropped. He called them gifts from President Truman.
Because they were raw materials.
Because they were the raw materials they needed to rebuild. Then finally, an earthquake levels his factory completely.
At this point, the universe is basically screaming at him, just give up.
You would think. But he decides to sell his piston operation to Toyota. He takes the money, and then he looks at the reality of post-war Japan. People had no gasoline, no way to get around. So he takes a tiny little engine, attaches it to a bicycle, and the Honda Motor Company is born.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it perfectly illustrates that quote Robbins uses from Disraeli.
Man is not the creature of circumstances. Circumstances are the creatures of men.
That is the core philosophy. If you're listening to this and you feel stuck in your job and your finances in anything, You have to realize you are not a victim of your conditions. You are the architect of your decisions. And I'll say this is where most entrepreneurs fail. They let the environment dictate their internal state.
100%.
They look at the market, they look at the competitors, they look at their bank account, and they let that determine how they feel and what they do. Honda let his internal resolve dictate his environment.
But that leads to the question that everyone asks, right? Why is it so hard? If it's just a simple decision, why don't we just decide to be happy and successful? Why don't we just decide to go to the gym every day?
That's the million-dollar question. And it brings us to section 2, the driving force, the twin forces of pain and pleasure.
This is the operating system of all human behavior. Robbins argues that everything, and he means absolutely everything we do, is driven by one of two forces: the need to avoid pain or the desire to gain pleasure.
It sounds incredibly simple, almost too simple, but it's actually quite nuanced when you start applying it.
It really is, because it explains the great paradox of procrastination. Why do we put off doing something we know we need to do? Intellectually, we know that finishing that big report will bring the pleasure of success and relief.
Of course.
But emotionally, in that moment, our brain links more pain to the act of doing the work, the effort, the focus, the difficulty, than it does to the act of putting it off.
So we're wired for immediate gratification. We want to avoid the immediate short-term pain of the effort.
Until, and this is the key word, until we hit what Robbins calls the emotional threshold.
The threshold. This is that breaking point, right?
It is the breaking point. It's that moment when the pain of not changing finally becomes greater, more intense, more unbearable than the pain of changing.
Give us an example of that.
Okay, the classic one is the smoker. They refuse to quit for years. Everyone tells them it's bad for them. They know it's bad. But the pleasure of the cigarette, that nicotine hit, the social ritual, it outweighs the vague, distant future pain of health issues.
Right. It'll happen to someone else.
Exactly. Until the doctor walks into the room with an x-ray, puts it up on the light box and says, "You see that shadow on your lung? It's cancer. If you do not stop smoking right now, you have 6 months to live."
Boom. Threshold.
Threshold. Suddenly, that cigarette doesn't represent pleasure anymore. It represents massive, immediate, lethal pain. And quitting for that person happens instantly.
No more willpower needed.
The decision is made. Robbins says we don't change until changing becomes a must, not a should.
We've all been there. I should lose weight. I should save more money. I should call my parents more often. Shoulds don't change a thing.
No.
Must change everything.
And this same dynamic plays out on a macro level too, in business and politics. Robbins uses the S&L crisis from the 80s and the Exxon Valdez oil spill as examples.
Yeah, let's connect this to business. How does a pain and pleasure calculation cause a massive oil spill?
It's all about short-term focus versus long-term consequences. In the case of Exxon, they had the option to outfit their oil tankers with double hulls.
Which is much safer.
Much, much safer. It was a known technology, but it would have cost them a lot of money up front. That's immediate pain, financial pain.
So they chose to avoid the immediate financial pain of the upgrade.
Correct. They focused on the short-term pleasure of higher profits and lower capital expenditure. But that short-term focus, that avoidance of a small pain, led directly to the massive, catastrophic, long-term pain of the spill.
Billions in cleanup costs,
Yep.
PR nightmares, environmental devastation.
All of it. It's the same pattern as the savings and loan crisis. Short-term greed, avoiding the discipline of proper lending, which led to a long-term economic catastrophe.
So Robbins has a name for this whole process, right?
Yeah.
This is where he introduces NAC.
Yes, neuroassociative conditioning. We have conditioned our nervous systems, our brains, to react to these immediate stimuli rather than a long-term vision.
He uses this great metaphor of the race car driver. It's so vivid.
I love this one. When race car drivers are learning, one of the first things they're taught is how to handle a skid. When that car starts sliding sideways toward the wall at 200 miles per hour,
The natural instinct is to stare at the wall.
right, you're terrified of hitting it. It's the source of all the pain and fear.
You focus on the pain.
Exactly. But here's the neurobiological trick. If you stare at the wall, you will steer directly into the wall. Your hands will subconsciously follow your eyes.
Wow.
To save the car, you have to tear your eyes away from the wall, away from the disaster, the pain, and you have to focus intensely on the open track, on where you want to go.
That is so powerful. I mean, how many of us right now are just staring at the wall in our lives? Staring at the debt, staring at the problem at work.
And by staring at it, we are subconsciously driving ourselves right into it. Stay with us, because in just a moment, we're going to show you how you can hack this entire system to break any bad habit instantly using this idea of NAC.
Okay, let's do it. Let's move to section 3. The science of change. This is the how-to. This is the part everyone's been waiting for. Robbins lays out this specific framework, NAC, neuroassociative conditioning.
And he starts by busting a massive myth, a myth that holds so many people back, the myth that meaningful change takes a long, long time.
You hear it constantly. Well, it took me 10 years to get this messed up. It'll take 10 years to fix it.
Robbins says that is absolute nonsense. Change happens in a split second. The preparation for change might take time.
Okay.
Getting to the point where you're finally ready to make that decision, that might take 10 years. But the actual shift, the moment you change your mind, it's instantaneous.
It's like switching on a light. You might fumble around in a dark room for an hour trying to find the switch, but once you flip it, the light is on. Instantly.
Perfect analogy. Exactly. So here they are, these 6 steps of NAC. If you have a habit you want to break or a behavior you want to install, this is the checklist.
Step 1. Decide what you really want.
And notice the language.
Yeah.
It's not decide what you don't want. That's focusing on the wall. Don't say, I want to stop being fat. Say, I want to be lean, strong, and energetic. You have to focus on the result you're moving toward.
Okay, that makes sense. Step 2. Get leverage.
We've touched on this, but this is the engine of change. This is about manufacturing that threshold moment so you don't have to wait for a real-life tragedy to force you to change.
So you create the crisis in your mind.
You have to stack the pain. Ask yourself, what will this habit cost me if I don't change? Not just money. What will it cost me in my self-esteem, in my relationships with my kids? What will it cost me in 10 years? You have to make the pain of staying the same absolutely unbearable.
And conversely, you link massive, unbelievable pleasure to the idea of changing now.
Right. Not tomorrow, now. Okay, step 3. Interrupt the pattern. This is my favorite part.
This is the scratching the record analogy, isn't it?
It is. Imagine an old vinyl record playing a song you hate. That song is your bad habit. It plays in the same groove over and over every single time. To change it, you can't just ask it nicely to play a different song.
No.
You have to take the needle and physically scratch it across the record. You have to jar the system so profoundly that it can never play that same groove again.
So in a real-world example, if you're a smoker and you feel that familiar urge and you reach for a cigarette,
You have to do something radical, something totally out of character. Scream at the top of your lungs, snap a rubber band on your wrist, jump into a cold shower. Do something so bizarre and unexpected that it scrambles that old neural pathway. You have to break the trance.
if it's normal, it won't work.
It has to be weird. Okay, step 4. Create a new empowering alternative.
This is where most people fail, I think.
It's where almost every New Year's resolution dies. They stop the bad behavior, but they leave a void. Nature abhors a vacuum. If you smoke to relax and you just stop smoking, you're going to be a stressed out wreck.
Right. You haven't replaced the benefit.
You need a new way to get that feeling of relaxation. Maybe it's 5 minutes of deep breathing. Maybe it's a quick walk outside. Maybe it's listening to a song. You must replace the loop with something better.
Okay, so you've interrupted the old pattern, installed a new one.
Yeah.
Step 5 is condition the new pattern.
Rehearsal. Repetition. Do it over and over again. Visualize yourself successfully using the new pattern. See it, feel it, hear it with such emotional intensity that it starts to feel more real than the old habit. You're building a new superhighway in your brain.
And then the final step, step 6.
Test it. Yeah, you have to test it. Put yourself in a situation that used to trigger the old behavior and see if the new pattern holds. If it doesn't, you need more leverage or a better alternative. You have to fine-tune it.
Robbins uses this hilarious but also kind of tragic example of not changing your strategy. The fly.
Oh, the fly trying to get through the window pane. We've all seen this. It's buzzing against the glass. It's using maximum effort. It's giving 110%. It's motivated.
But it's doomed.
It's completely doomed because the strategy is fundamentally wrong. And just 10 feet away, the door is wide open.
But the fly is so focused on the obstacle, so locked into its pattern of try harder, that it literally dies on the windowsill.
Don't be the fly. If you're trying really hard and it's not working, don't just try harder. Change your approach.
I love that. Don't be the fly. That's a great takeaway.
That brings us to section 4, the master system. Now we're getting into the real software of the mind, aren't we? Beliefs and questions.
This is deep. Robbins talks about what he calls global beliefs. These are the big sweeping generalizations we make about the world. Life is hard. People are fundamentally selfish.
Or, on the flip side, life is a gift. People are generally good.
And these beliefs act as a filter for everything you experience. He uses the story of Roger Bannister to illustrate the raw power of a single belief. The 4-minute mile.
The 4-minute mile. Before 1954, it was a widely held belief, it was almost considered a scientific fact, that the human body could not physically run a mile in under 4 minutes. Doctors thought the heart would literally explode.
It was seen as a physical barrier, a hard limit in everyone's mind.
Until Roger Bannister did it. He shattered the belief barrier. And what happened? Did human evolution suddenly take a massive leap forward 6 weeks later?
Of course not.
No, but dozens of other runners broke the 4-minute mile shortly after he did. Once the belief that it was impossible changed, the physical limitation evaporated for everyone.
That connects directly to that idea of learned helplessness we mentioned earlier.
It does, and this is so crucial for anyone listening who is facing adversity. This comes from Martin Seligman's research at the University of Pennsylvania. The difference between pessimists and optimists isn't just their general attitude, it's specifically how they explain adversity to themselves.
The 3 Ps, right?
3 Ps. Pessimists see problems as permanent, pervasive, and personal.
Okay, let's break those down. What does permanent sound like?
Permanent is, it'll always be this way. I'll never get a job. This company will never succeed.
Pervasive.
That's when you let one problem bleed into everything else. Because I lost my job, my whole life is ruined. My marriage will probably fail. My health will decline. Everything is terrible.
And personal.
It's all my fault. I'm defective. There's something wrong with me.
So how does an optimist, or just a high achiever, frame the exact same problem?
They flip the 3 Ps. They see problems as temporary. This is just a setback. It's a phase. Specific. Okay, I lost my job, but I'm still a good father, a good husband, and a good friend. This one area doesn't define my entire life. And crucially, external, or at least not entirely personal.
So it's not I'm a failure.
It's the market is down right now, or the strategy we used was wrong, but I am still capable and I can learn from this.
That distinction is everything. Let's pivot to questions. Robbins has this great line, questions are the answer.
It's brilliant, because thinking, when you really boil it down, is just a process of asking and answering questions in your own mind. Your brain is a supercomputer. If you ask it a lousy question, it is obligated to give you a lousy answer.
Like the classic, why does this always happen to me?
Exactly. If you ask that question, your brain will dutifully search its database and come up with answers like, because you're stupid, or because you're unlucky, or because you don't deserve success.
It confirms the negative premise of the question.
It does. And he contrasts this with Donald Trump. And again, remember, this book was written in the early 90s, focusing purely on his real estate career back then.
Right.
In the 70s, New York City was on the verge of bankruptcy. Most developers were asking questions like, how will we survive this? Is the city going to go under? Very fear-based questions.
And Trump asked a completely different question.
He asked, how can I get rich while everyone else is afraid? That single shift in the question completely changed his focus. He saw a massive opportunity where everyone else saw disaster, because his question commanded his brain to look for it.
But Robbins also points out the danger in that, right? He mentions that later, when Trump ran into trouble with debt, it might have been because he stopped asking the important questions.
Exactly. He stopped asking, what is the downside here? What's the worst case scenario? And he only asked, what can I enjoy? You have to have balanced questions to make balanced decisions.
So Robbins gives us a practical tool here, which I love. It's called the morning power questions. Instead of waking up, hitting the snooze button, groaning, ugh, what do I have to do today? Which immediately puts you in a defensive negative state.
You ask a different set of questions. Questions like, what am I happy about in my life right now? What am I committed to creating today? What am I grateful for?
And even if you're having the worst day of your life, if you force your brain to answer, what am I happy about? It has to find something.
It has to. Even if the answer is just, well, I'm happy I'm alive, I'm happy the sun is shining, it immediately shifts your state. It changes your biochemistry.
And speaking of biochemistry, that's a perfect transition to section 5, which is all about vocabulary and metaphors. This is fascinating stuff, how the words we use literally change our body chemistry.
Yes, he calls this transformational vocabulary. We tend to think that our words just describe our feelings, but Robbins argues that they actually create our feelings. The label shapes the experience.
He tells that story about his business partner.
He does. They were in a business meeting that wasn't going well. The partner comes out of the room and says he is furious. And he looks at, he's red in the face, his veins are popping out of his neck.
He's living the word furious.
Completely. Robbins was in the exact same meeting, but he described his own state as being a little bit peeved.
Peeved. It's almost impossible to be in a full-blown rage if you use the word peeved. It's just, it's too silly of a word.
It is. The label you put on the emotion dictates the physiological intensity. If you say you are devastated by a setback versus just disappointed, you are going to feel a completely different chemical cocktail wash through your body.
So the strategy is to consciously lower the intensity of your negative emotions. Change angry to a bit disenchanted, or change I am overwhelmed to I'm in demand.
And just as important, you heighten the positive. Don't just say you feel good when something great happens. Say you feel ecstatic, unstoppable, electric. Use words that juice your emotional state.
And then there's the bigger picture, life metaphors. Things like life is a battle, or life is a game, or life is a gift.
This is so subconscious for most people, but it's incredibly powerful. He tells an anecdote about a mechanic he met who felt life was a test.
Okay.
If life is a test, what are you always doing? You're always afraid of failing. You're constantly stressed, looking for the right answer. And he meets another guy who feels life is a party. If life is a party, you're looking for the fun, you're relaxed, you're looking to connect with people.
If you think business is a war, you're going to treat your employees like soldiers, maybe even expendable ones.
But if you think business is a family, you're going to nurture them and try to help them grow. Your central metaphor dictates your behavior.
So powerful. Check your metaphors. They are running your life without you even knowing it. All right, let's shift gears. I want to put my modern entrepreneur mentor hat on for a second. Let's talk about Section 6, Financial Destiny. This is where the rubber meets the road.
Money, yes. Robbins lays out what he calls the 5 keys to wealth. But first, he debunks a really common misconception. He says wealth is not about your resources. It's about your resourcefulness.
He leans heavily on the work of the economist Paul Pilzer and this concept of economic alchemy.
It's a fantastic idea. It's the concept that we no longer live in an era where physical resources limit wealth. In the industrial age, you needed iron ore to make steel. Today, we take sand, which is basically worthless and everywhere,
and turn it into silicon chips, the engine of the modern world.
Exactly. The value isn't in the sand. It's in the technology, the idea, the intelligence. We live in an age of potentially unlimited resources because the primary resource is the human mind.
So with that as the foundation, what's key number 1?
Key number 1, earn more by adding more value.
This is basic economics, but it's so often forgotten.
It is. The only way to ethically and sustainably earn more money is to become more valuable. You have to do more for others, solve bigger problems for others than anyone else is doing.
He uses the example of the massage therapist.
It's a perfect example. There are a million massage therapists out there. Most are fine. But this one guy didn't just give a good massage. He brought incredible energy into the room. He brought humor. He connected with people on a human level. He made them feel psychologically rejuvenated, not just physically relaxed.
He added more value.
He added way more value, so he was booked solid for months while others were struggling to find clients.
Okay, key number 2, maintain wealth.
Or, put more simply, spend less than you earn. It's the unsexy, boring truth of all wealth creation. He suggests creating a spending plan, not a budget.
What's the difference?
A budget often feels restrictive, like a diet. A spending plan is proactive. It's you deciding ahead of time where you want your money to go to build the life you want. It's an empowering frame.
I like that. Okay, key number 3, increase wealth.
Compound interest. Einstein called it the 8th wonder of the world. You have to reinvest your returns so that your money starts making money for you. This is how you reach that critical mass where you're no longer trading time for money.
Key number 4, protect your wealth.
And I'll jump in here and say, most founders, most entrepreneurs, they're great at 1, 2, and 3. They miss step 4 and they lose everything they built. Don't let that be you.
He tells a terrifying, almost unbelievable story about a man who sued a shotgun manufacturer because he shot himself while driving drunk.
It's a real case. And it just illustrates the incredibly litigious society we live in. The man survived the shot, but then sued the manufacturer for not having a better safety mechanism on the gun, and he won a settlement.
Unbelievable.
The point is, you need asset protection. If you build a beautiful castle, you have to build a moat around it.
And finally, key number 5, enjoy your wealth.
This might sound frivolous, but it's not. If you don't actually enjoy it, if you feel guilty or stressed about having money, you will subconsciously find a way to sabotage yourself to get rid of it.
We've all seen The Miserable Millionaire.
Exactly. If your brain links pain, guilt, stress, family problems to money, you will find a way to get back to a state that feels less painful, even if that means being broke. You have to link profound pleasure and joy to abundance.
So that's the financial piece. Let's go back to the master system for section 7. This is about values and rules. This explains the hidden conflict that stalls so many people's lives.
Values hierarchy. It's a simple but profound idea. We all have moving toward values, things we desperately want, like love, success, freedom, adventure.
And we have moving away values, things we will do almost anything to avoid, like rejection, failure, humiliation, loneliness.
Right. And the conflict happens when your highest values are in direct opposition to each other.
Can you give an example of that?
Sure. Imagine your number one moving toward value is success. You want it more than anything else in the world. But your number one moving away value is rejection. You are terrified of being rejected.
But you can't have huge success without risking rejection constantly.
Exactly. So you have one foot slammed on the gas pedal, success, and your other foot slammed on the brake, rejection. What happens?
You just spin your wheels, you burn out, you self-sabotage.
You stay stuck. You have to align your values so they are all propelling you in the same direction. Maybe you need to value growth more than you fear rejection.
And then there are rules.
Yeah.
The subconscious if-then statements that run our lives.
This is the biggest source of day-to-day unhappiness for high achievers. He tells this great story comparing a super successful CEO to a regular happy guy.
Okay.
The CEO has a rule for when he allows himself to feel successful. The rule is, I will only feel successful if I earn over $3 million this year, if I have 8% body fat, and if my kids get perfect grades.
He has rigged the game so it is almost impossible for him to win.
He can never win. He rarely feels successful because his rules are too damn hard. He's constantly feeling like a failure, even though, by any objective measure, he's incredibly successful.
And what about the happy guy?
His rule for feeling good is, if I'm above ground, it's a great day.
He rigged the game so he wins every single day.
Exactly. And Robbins is very clear. He isn't saying you should lower your standards for achievement, keep your goals high. He's saying you should lower your standards for feeling good. Make it easy to feel happy. Give yourself permission to feel successful along the journey, not just at the distant finish line.
That one idea could change someone's entire life. That brings us to the practical application of all of this. Section 8, the 10-day mental challenge.
This is the gauntlet. This is where he challenges the reader to put it all into practice. The challenge is this. For 10 consecutive days, refuse to dwell on any unresourceful thought or feeling.
And I want to emphasize that word, dwell. It doesn't mean you won't have a negative thought. That's impossible.
Right. You're human. Negative thoughts are going to pop into your head. The rule is you cannot hold on to it. You cannot entertain it for more than a minute or two. You have to use your NAC techniques, interrupt the pattern, change your state, focus on a solution immediately.
And what's the catch?
The catch is, if you do dwell on it, if you get sucked into a negative spiral for more than a few minutes, you have to start the 10 days over. You go back to day 1.
Ouch. That's tough. But the purpose is to break the addiction, right?
We are addicted to our negative thought loops. Worry is a habit. Anger is a habit. This challenge forces you to become hyper-aware of your mental and emotional state. It builds the muscle of emotional control.
So, after all of this, what does it all mean? We've covered decisions, pain and pleasure, the NA steps, beliefs, metaphors, money, values, and rules.
It means you have a master system running your life. Your life isn't random. It's a system comprised of your evaluations, how you see things, your beliefs, your rules, and your values. And the good news is, like any system, it can be reprogrammed.
You are the programmer.
You are the programmer. You don't have to accept the software that was installed by your parents or your teachers or by society. You can sit down at the keyboard and rewrite the code starting today.
You are the director of your destiny.
Precisely.
So you have the knowledge now. We've laid it all out. The only question left is, do you have the guts to make the decision today?
And don't just listen to this deep dive and think, oh, that was interesting. Do the 10-day challenge. Prove it to yourself. That is where the real lasting change happens.
We want to hear from you. Are you going to take the challenge? Let us know.
Oh.
Drop a comment, subscribe to the show, and share this episode with someone you know who needs to wake their giant. And remember, repetition is the mother of skill. Go back and re-listen to that financial section if you need to.
Absolutely. It's worth it.
Until next time, live with passion.